The offseason is officially in full swing for the Philadelphia Phillies as we await the World Series and the full champion of the season, but the Phillies are seeking their best route to get that trophy themselves, and Tyler O'Neill is an interesting name that has entered the conversation. So me and Luke are beginning to dive into the most likely names that this Phillies team could be targeting this offseason to ultimately get them over the hump, and O'Neill is a guy who could fit that criteria there. So before I dive fully into the case for it, do want to pull up some stats that we got, some data and everything else. Luke, what's your opening impressions and thoughts on Tyler O'Neill, though?
Yeah, I like Tyler O'Neill.
Okay.
I've liked his game for a while. I thought he was a fit, honestly, last year for the Phillies. I've honestly wanted him now for a few years on this team. He is a guy to me that I don't necessarily think he fits the mold completely, but I do think that he is a bat that this team could very much use. The batting average necessarily isn't there. He hits around 240. He's like a career 245 hitter. But I mean, how much do people really look at batting average these days?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to look at the OPS, you can look at that. Last year with the Red Sox, 847 OPS with 31 homers last year. He had a really good year for Boston when he was on the field. He was out for a little bit, but he's got some pop. He's got some serious pop. He can get the ball out. He put a lot of balls over the Green Monster last year. He can get a hold of one
Okay.
if he really gets on it. He's not your typical 290 slap hitter. I mean, he's going to get on base, but he's not necessarily, I would say, the ideal fit, like a guy like Jerickson Profar that we just talked about.
Yep.
But I think this guy does have pop, and I think he would be an extremely nice addition to this lineup.
Interesting. And this did initially spark to my mind. Shout out to John Stallness, who wrote a kind of a piece on three players that could potentially be targeted. Sort of the crux of his argument being that they need more guys that aren't going to participate in this high chase rate at the plate. And Tyler O'Neill is a guy that fits that category. So Stallness writes on The Good Fight, which is an SB Nation affiliate. He writes that O'Neill saw 4.19 pitches per plate appearance last year, 24th most in the majors, and walked in 11.2% of his plate appearances, which is tied for 37th, just below Profar. O'Neill also had more swing and miss in his game with a 33.6% strikeout rate, that was the 8th highest in baseball. However, he doesn't generally seem to strike out by chasing. Last season, O'Neill only swung at 26.2% of pitches out of the zone, just outside the top 1/3 percentile, which was 101 out of 286 players. He swung and missed at 24.4% of pitches in the strike zone last year, the 18th most. Can Kevin Long work on that? A right-handed hitter, O'Neill slugged 31 homers for Boston in just 113 games last season, good for an 847 OPS, adding 18 doubles. Injuries have been a problem for the 29-year-old, but he's worth a 2.7 WAR despite missing 49 games and has generally been a productive hitter when in the lineup. So, Luke, after hearing that, what are your thoughts? I don't love the strikeout numbers that are spit out as there. That's been an issue with my team as a whole, but I guess we can kind of lean into the positive that it isn't chasing a strikeout. It is just kind of getting beat by pitches if you want to look at that positively. But thoughts on that breakdown there?
Yes, I will say this: if he played a full season last year, he would have had about 220 strikeouts. So the strikeouts are high, which is
That's a
not a
lot.
recipe for success in this city, especially. I think we've seen that with some guys the last few years.
And to add it to this team, like,
Yeah, to add it, I don't think it's necessary. Like I said, it's not the right player for the mold I think they need. But I mean, it's also adding 30 homers as a right-handed bat in your lineup. So I don't necessarily think this will be their top target. I do think it should be a guy they at least give a look to, though. I think the strikeout thing is something you can fix. Not necessarily maybe like drastically. But I think if you start to put together some better at bats in a new environment and sort of new coaching, I think that's something it's definitely not a lost cause. So yeah, the strikeout numbers aren't very eye popping to you. They are a bit concerning.
yeah.
But as far as the bat itself, I mean, this dude has pop once again. So if that's the kind of bat that they're looking for, I don't necessarily think once again it would be the best mold as far as just like the home run or bust kind of thing.
Right.
But as far as the power, I mean, he's got just about as nice as anyone on the market as far as the outfielders.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of good points there, and I kind of pulled up the current outfield on the screen. I find it really hard to believe, looking at these names on the roster right now, that this is who the Phillies will return. I know that there was some decent comments at the post, I guess, postpartum press conference, where the post moratorium, whatever the word is for that there, where they were speaking about these could be the guys. They have a plan for Rojas, all these type of things. I find it hard to believe that there won't be some sort of splash for this Phillies team. I'm not sure if I'm ready to sign up for Tyler O'Neill being a part of it. Now, I've mentioned Juan Soto plenty in these videos. I do want to make sure I keep bringing up, because I do think that is that pipe dream that I want to remind people. We kind of talked a little bit more in depth about it in the Profar video. I don't see a world where this guy leaves the Yankees, but I did want to kind of bring up the conversation in terms of Soto's obviously going to be a market setter, a contract that we probably don't have like a background to go off for expectations. Truly, maybe Shohei, and I don't think it'll be quite Shohei, although who knows based on today and if it's a bidding war, how things played out. But kind of your feel for O'Neill's market. Where do you think he, in the hierarchy of the top outfield options, falls, and what kind of money is that looking like?
Yeah, so I mean, he's definitely going to get some money. Um, I don't think it's going to be something crazy, but I mean, I would say he'd probably get probably 15 a year
Wow. Okay.
from something from some. I mean, there's going to be teams that are going to give him the money. He hit 30 homers last year. Like he's going to get the money he deserves. I think it's just a matter of years right now with O'Neill. I mean, he is only 29 right now, so he is necessarily a little on the younger side, I would say, compared to some of the other free agents out there.
Right.
So I mean, he's definitely going to get some money. I don't know. Like I like the bat and I like the name. It's just now that I keep thinking more about it, I don't think the fit is really what the Phillies want.
Yeah.
I don't think bringing in a guy who's going to strike out 160 times in 113 games is probably their solution, especially after that playoff series.
Yeah.
If your number one concern was limiting the chasing and sort of knocking down the strikeouts, I don't necessarily think he's going to help that. And it stinks because I would love another right-handed bat.
Yeah. For sure.
I think that should really be a priority for them. I think they would love to get another really sort of like right-handed specific bat. I just don't really know if O'Neill's necessarily the perfect fit.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm ultimately landing out as well. The strikeouts to me are pretty much the top of the list is the
Yeah.
first thing that I'm looking at, because you got to live with the necessary evils of who Nick Castellanos is at this point. You know the guys that you've gotten in bed with and kind of the downsides of their game, so you have to live with. So you got to find the opposite side of things to balance that there. That is not Tyler O'Neill by any means, I feel. So to wrap this up here, Luke, I'm going to hit you with the same questions. From 1 to 10, how much do you want to see Tyler O'Neill in a Phillies uniform? And from 1 to 10, how likely do you think that is the case?
Yeah, I said 8 for Profar as far as want. I'll give you a 5 for O'Neill,
Wow. Okay.
maybe a 4,
Hmm.
4 or 5. And then as far as most likely, I would say probably like a 2 or 3. I don't think if they were smart, this wouldn't be their move. Um, I don't think he's a bad bat by any means. I don't think he fits.
Yeah.
I think adding strikeouts to strikeouts only brings more strikeouts.
Yep.
So
Simple math.
I would say around probably like a 3-ish around there for sort of most likely.
Yeah, lock me in for a 2 as far as my level of
Yeah.
desire here. I'm out on Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah.
And honestly, less about him as a player, far more about the fit, as you kind of mentioned there. That I need some contact hitters. I need some balance to this lineup, and I don't think he's the answer to any of those things there. But if you disagree with us, I want to hear from you guys in the comments. So let it rip down below. If you have not already, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Drop a like on this video, and me and Luke will be back next time with another outfield target.